it's, it's all public record now, even though my statute of limitations passed, so I can't get in any trouble. And that didn't work out, so I decided I'm going to do big game hunting to see if I could, you know. So I started with rifles. I know some guys do bows. That's what you do. That was too easy. Then I did a handgun. The handgun. 4.54 console. I used to do these handgun made 25, 30 years ago. So I hunted handgun. That is pretty close. Handgun.
How close you get?
Well, I've been as close as you.
To what?
To the charging buffalo.
Oh, Jesus Christ. A buffalo was charging this close and you shot it with a handgun?
Yeah, I got run over by it.
What? So, like,
let's get back to the
so with the handgun, like, do you try to get inside of 20 yards? Like, how close are you
yeah,
get?
well, it depends how good a shot you are.
Right.
But I mean, they're effective at 50 yards, but the accuracy's not so good.
Right.
But 20 yards is pretty good, 20 meters. So, so we're chasing this bear down right on the borderline of Alaska and whatever the Canadian provinces up there. And I get within about 40, 50 yards of him. And then he turns around because he said, why am I running? You know, he asked himself, why am I running? And he turns around and I hit him a couple times, 4.54. And now he knows. So then he runs again. And so I chase him some more. And make a long story short, so by the time I unloaded, no pipe, because it only hits 5 shells. He's loaded. He would have died about in an hour or 2 hours. But he's still, you know, dangerous. So then I jumped on him and stabbed him 70, 80 times.
Jesus Christ, dude. 70 or 80 times?
I don't remember because the adrenaline. So
No, fucking
the
wrong.
hunter
Man,
guy
pheasant.
said that my arm looked like a jackhammer. It was going up and down so fast.
Frustration.
I mean, I was just jacked up.
And where are you standing?
I stabbed him in the chest, around the head, and the neck, in here. I was trying to hit him at main artery.
And is he trying to bite you?
Oh yeah, he's with big claws, you know, but I'm staying under the claws and he's losing coordination. He could have got me, but he didn't.
Jesus Christ. What kind of was this, a brown bear or a black bear?
Brown. But the better story is the buffalo. Now,
How do you get a better story than you maniacally, homicidally stabbing a brown bear to death?
no,
Showing you just...
I went to Australia there. You saw the movie Crocodile Dundee?
Yes, I know.
Okay, well, there's a real crocodile Dundee. His name was Larry Lees. So I went down there to hunt with him in Australia for 10 days. And again with a handgun. And I said, I'm going to get a big bull, a water buffalo. Yeah, exactly. And he said, okay, well, we have to go into a certain part of Australia near Darwin, north. And he said that I can't promise he's still going to be there, but there's a big pond 4 or 5 foot in this room, and he should be there in the late afternoon, scratching his back on where his hip were hanging. So we got there, we hiked in 4 or 5 hours, and he was there, just like he said he was going to be there. And he said that don't want to just shoot him in the back. No, I want to charge him. So he said, okay, I want to see.
Wait a minute, you wanted him to charge you? Why did you want that?
I never saw combat.
But why is that so important to you? Like, what is it?
It just is.
So just in your mind, you needed to be, you need to experience, wow, life and death.
Yep.
It had to be like life and death combat. Correct. If it wasn't with the enemy, it was with some charging beast.
Correct. So he throws pebbles at him. He spins around and he says he won't come out this way because it's too far for him to jump, and he can't jump that high. Just like magic, that goddamn bull jumped 15 feet in the fucking air, spun around and ran right at me. So about where you are, as he ran over me and I fell back, I shot once and I hit him in his chin, went out his nose and missed his brain. He put one hoof on my hip, that's why I had to get a hip eventually, and one hoof on my left knee. So arguably that's why I have a left knee. So I felt like a train hit me. So he keeps running. I get up. I'm dusting myself off. So I've shot 1 out of 5 bullets. So I said, well, I'm going to kill this bastard. So I'm chasing him in the jungle.
With a blown out knee and a blown out hip?
Correct. I'm chasing him in the jungle. And the guy, Barry Lees, is yelling, Dan. I can't hear him though because I'm so pumped up. Dan. He's screaming at me. So I get close to him. I shoot a couple more times. Then I shoot a couple more times. And then the bull gets tired. He spins around just like in the movies. He decides to charge from about that wall. And just as he got about to where that chair is, I fired again. Click. I'm empty.
Oh, no.
And he falls dead at my feet. From the other times I hit him.
Jesus Christ. next.
And so, but what Barry Lees was yelling at me, he says, "You're fucking empty! You're fucking empty!" He's telling me I had no bullets left. Well, I couldn't hear that. Now, when you get in contest martial arts, do you go into automatic?
Yeah. Yeah, you have to. You think very little while you're in there. You're supposed to be, I mean, you have, when you separate a little bit, sometimes you have time to think about what you're going to do, but most of it is you're relying on your training and your conditioning.
Well, I hear you when you're announcing those deals about there's some guys that are really in good condition, that, you know, they're animals or beasts, and it seems to me that that's one of the telling things. If you run out of gas in the second, third, or fourth round, you're screwed.
Yeah, well, there's different styles of fighting, too. There's some guys who they sprint, and they can blow you out in the first couple of rounds, but if they get into the third, fourth, and fifth round, they significantly diminish their output. And that's, some guys have strategies like to weather the storm. You just have to figure out a way to weather a certain fighter's storms and take them into the second and third round. Like there's a guy like Hector Lombard, is a famous MMA fighter. He was a champion in other organizations. Scary, scary guy. And for one round, he might be the scariest motherfucker in the division. He's terrifying. He's built like a brick shithouse. He comes at you fast and hard, but he's so muscular and so strong, and his output is so explosive and kinetic. He's not like a rhythmic, slow, technical, methodical fighter. He's a sprinter. And so after that initial sprint, he's not the same in the second and third rounds usually.
Does he win?
Sometimes he wins a lot. I mean, he's a world-class fighter for sure.
The guys I like were the Diaz brothers.
Oh yeah, well they're the opposite. They're guys who just come at you and they can throw volume for days. They don't ever get tired. Those guys can go on and on and on and on and on. They break people with their pace.
Yeah, and when he beat the older one, I guess beat McGregor.
No, the younger one actually. It's Nate.
Okay.
Yeah, Nate is the younger one.
Okay.
Yeah, that was a great fight. It was a fun fight. Second fight was fun too. Yeah. So from not having combat experience in the war, you have homicidally scary guy, and for one round, he might be the scariest motherfucker.
He throws pebbles at him. He spins around and he says he won't come out this way.
They're the opposite. They're guys who they come at you and they can throw volume for days. They don't ever get tired. Those guys can go on and on and on and on and on. They break people with their pace.
Yeah, and when he beat the older one, I guess beat McGregor.
No, the younger one actually. It's Nate.
Okay.
Yeah, Nate is the younger one.
Say, man.
He's terrifying. He's built like a brick shithouse. He comes at you.
But I couldn't hear that. Now, when you get in contest martial arts, do you go into automatic?
Yeah. Yeah, you have to. You can think very little while you're in there. You're supposed to be, I mean, you have, when you separate a little bit, sometimes you have time to think about what you're going to do, but most of it is you're relying on your training and your conditioning.
Well, I hear you when you're announcing those deals about there's some guys that are really in good condition, that, you know, they're animals or beasts, and it seems to me that that's one of the telling things. If you run out of gas in the second, third, or fourth round, you're screwed.
Yeah, well, there's different styles of fighting too. There's some guys who they sprint and they can blow you out in the first couple of rounds, but if they get into the third, fourth, and fifth round, they significantly diminish their output. And that's some guys have strategies like to weather the storm. You just have to figure out a way to weather a certain fighter's storms and take them into the second and third round. Like there's a guy like Hector Lombard, is a famous MMA fighter. He was a champion in other organizations. Scary, scary guy. And for one round, he might be the scariest motherfucker in the division. He's terrifying. He's built like a brick shithouse. He comes at you fast and hard, but he's so muscular and so strong, and his output is so explosive and kinetic. He's not like a rhythmic, slow, technical, methodical fighter. He's a sprinter. And so after that initial sprint, he's not the same in the second and third rounds usually.
Does he win?
Sometimes he wins a lot. I mean, he's a world-class fighter for sure.
The guys I like were the Diaz brothers.
Oh yeah, well they're the opposite. They're guys who they come at you and they can throw volume for days. They don't ever get tired. Those guys can go on and on and on and on and on. They break people with their pace.
Yeah, and when he beat the older one, I guess beat McGregor.
No, the younger one actually. It's Nate.
Okay.
Yeah, Nate is the younger one. Yeah, that was a great fight. It was a fun fight. Second fight was fun too. Yeah. So from not having combat experience in the war, you had like this real combat experience. You had this desire to put yourself in danger and to test yourself.
I wanted to see if I was going to live or die.
So that's why you decided the next way to do this is to do it with a water buffalo. No, you were talking earlier about mercenary work. Like what kind of mercenary work?
In the early 80s, I had the privilege of being mentored by Konstantin Gratsos, who was the chief executive of Onassis Shipping Line, the 60-year right-hand man of Aristotle Onassis. He was one of my mentors. And he, the Vatican, CIA, Imelda Marcos, and a guy named Talaveras, Mobil Oil, the CEO, came up with an idea that they were going to invade Haiti, just like Clinton did 12 years later, okay? And for all different reasons. Onassis wanted the shipping of the oil. Mobil wanted the oil. The Vatican wanted more Catholics. CIA wanted to have them not be Doc Cavalier, the communist, eating with the communists right at the near Florida. And I don't know what the fuck Imelda was there for, but you know, she wasn't buying shoes or anything, but she was there. And I was put in charge of that project by Mr. Gratsos. And we put together a mercenary army, and we had some of the great mercenaries, a guy named Mike Williams, one of the great mercenaries of the 70s and 80s. And just as we were going to launch the attack and land with boots on the ground, Cyrus Vance, Secretary of State, pulled the plug on the deal. But I was going to come out of a helicopter just like Schwarzenegger does. By the way, you can't hold those big guns. Even Arnie can't. The way they do it, they're too heavy. But anyway, I was going to be the first feet on the ground. And then when that thing fell to shit, I said, well, maybe I'm just not meant to see combat, you know.
Wow, so it was something that was really important to you.
Yeah.
But was it important to you because you didn't know how you would fare, or because you knew how you would fare and you wanted to test yourself, or you just wanted to experience?
I was 100% positive I knew that I had balls, and I wouldn't, you know, weenie out. But until you do it, you don't know for sure. Growing up as a kid on the hood and being arrested 5 times and all the trouble I got in.
You grew up in the hood?
Yeah.
What hood?
East LA.
Did you really?
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
In fact, we were just over there. I like to go to the hood 2-3 times a year just to see it again. And so I went from the Jonathan Club, where I'm a member, to the hood, and with my same driver for many years. And we took one of my mentees, who's also from the hood, Cambodian kid, because the Cambodians drove the Mexicans out of my portion of the hood. And so I went back to the hood, and he went to the same grammar school I did, Rhoda Street. He went to the same Catholic church I went to. Now, for your audience, nobody believes this, but I used to teach catechism. I used to teach Bible study because I wanted to be a priest.
You wanted to be a priest?
When I was a little kid.
Whoa.
Yeah, and so it's hard to believe, but I did. But maybe all little Catholic boys, when they're 10, 12, 13, want to be priests. Maybe not, but I did. So when I got in a lot of trouble when I was in the 5th, 6th grade. I dropped an aquarium, and it's on my set. I was pointing at the picture from the 2nd floor. I dropped an aquarium on my teacher's head from the 2nd floor, and if he hadn't moved 6 inches, we wouldn't be sitting here. I would have gone to San Quentin, I would have gone juvie, blah, 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 and I would have had a different life.
So
and I only shattered his shoulder.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
But that's not the worst thing I did in school. I was expelled 3 times before I got out of grammar school.
What?
Yeah.
Grammar school?
Grammar school.
What'd you do?
Well, I did that to the teacher.
They expelled you for how long?
3 weeks.
And then you come back and the teacher's still fucked up?
Then another guy.
Did you have to say sorry?
No, I didn't say sorry. Another guy in the school.
Did you feel sorry?
No, I didn't try to kill. I really didn't. That wasn't in my mind.
How old were you at the time?
I was 11, 12.
So why were you doing that?
He pissed me off, obviously. I don't really remember why. I know I dropped the goddamn aquarium, though. That's a given. So I know the guy. I got in a fight with a guy and I knocked him down. And I was the biggest guy in grammar school. I wasn't, I wasn't.
Grammar school?
Because I was the tallest.
Oh, okay.
Tallest guy in grammar school. And so some other guy came up and I got in a fight, knocked him down, and apparently he broke his elbow when he fell down. And the kid says, "You broke my arm, you broke my arm." And then I went over and I broke his arm in 6 places for real after that. Now you got a broken arm.
Mean little fucking kid.
Yeah, I guess I was.
So do you think that this is from growing up in the hood, just being in a dog-eat-dog environment?
Yeah. I'm positive it was.
Yeah, and so that led you to really want to test yourself in the military.
Correct.
Wow.
Correct.
And when you look back on all that stuff and all that intense aggression and all those thoughts, did you take anything out of that you carry with you as an older
Absolutely.
man?
Absolutely. Well, I'm a kind of gentler.
Yeah, you seem like a real nice guy.
Yeah, I am. But I've turned that aggression into success in business.
What about peace and calm? Do you have that too?
I don't meditate. I don't do any of that stuff.
But do you feel good? Do you feel like
I
at
feel like
peace?
Twisted Steel and Panther Piss. I mean,
Twisted Steel and Panther Piss is an odd combination to feel like.
well, that's a Texas oil field. Yeah. And I just visited one of my buddies from the war, who's unfortunately got Agent Orange.
Yeah, you were telling me that. Like, so what are the effects of Agent? How
Well,
old is
as you
this
get
gentleman?
older, your immune system breaks down, and the Agent Orange that you had latent in your system now starts to come out.
Like, what is it? How's it
Well, I
manifest
mean, he's
itself?
lost 40 pounds. This guy, I saw him pick up a Corvette when we were kids. And now he has trouble getting up steps.
Wow.
So,
Yeah, Agent Orange is some scary shit, wasn't it?
yeah.
It was an exfoliant, right? Or
Correct.
defoliant that they sprayed on the jungle in Vietnam where all these soldiers were down there in it. Crazy shit that they just experimented on those kids.
Yeah.
And that's just, again, folks, don't forget, that was 50 years ago.
Yeah,
That's
I
not
mean,
long
it's,
ago.
yeah, I guess I was.
So do you think that this is from growing up in the hood, just being in the
Well-
dog-eat-dog environment?
Yeah. I'm positive it was.
Yeah, and so that led you to really want to test yourself in the military.
Correct.
Wow.
Correct.
And when you look back on all that stuff and all that intense aggression and all those thoughts, did you take anything out of that you carry with you as an older man?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I'm a kind of gentler.
Yeah, you seem like a real nice guy.
Yeah, I am. But I've turned that aggression into success in business.
What about peace and calm? Do you have that too?
I don't meditate. I don't do any of that stuff.
Do you feel good? Do you feel like
I
at
feel
peace?
like Twisted Steel and Panther Piss. I mean,
Twisted Steel and Panther Piss is an odd combination to feel like.
well, that's a Texas oil field. Yeah. And I just visited one of my buddies from the war, who's unfortunately got Agent Orange.
Yeah, you were telling me that. Like, so what are the effects of Agent? How old
Well,
is
as
this
you get
gentleman?
older, your immune system breaks down, and the Agent Orange that you had latent in your system now starts to come out.
Like, what is it? How's it
Well, I
manifest
mean, he's
itself?
lost 4 school.
What'd you do?
Well, I did that to the teacher.
They expelled you for how long?
3 weeks.
And then you come back and the
Yeah,
teacher's still fucked up.
then another guy.
Did you have to say
where
sorry?
No, I didn't say sorry. Another guy in the school.
Did you feel sorry?
No, I didn't try to kill. I really didn't. That wasn't in my mind.
How old were you at the time?
I was 11, 12.
So why were you doing that?
It pissed me off, obviously. I don't really remember why. I know I dropped the goddamn aquarium, though. That's a given. So another guy, I got in a fight with a guy and I knocked him down. And I was the biggest guy in grammar school. I wasn't, I
How do
wasn't.
you remember that you were the biggest guy in grammar school?
Because I was the tallest.
Oh, okay.
Tallest
I
guy
get
in
it.
grammar school. Okay. And so some other guy came up and I got in a fight, knocked him down, and apparently he broke his elbow when he fell down. And the kid said, "You broke my arm, you broke my arm," and I didn't. I went over and I broke his arm in 6 places for real after that. Now you got a broken arm,
mean
asshole.
little fucking kid.
Yeah, I guess I was.
So do you think that this was from growing up in the hood, just being in the dog-eat-dog environment?
Yeah, I'm positive it was.
Yeah, and so that led you to really want to test yourself in the military.
Correct.
Wow.
Correct.
And when you look back on all that stuff and all that intense aggression and all those thoughts, did you take anything out of that you carry with you as an older
Absolutely.
man?
Absolutely. Well, I'm a kind of gentler.
Yeah, you seem like a real nice guy.
Yeah, I am. But I've turned that aggression into success in business.
What about peace and calm? Do you have that too?
I don't meditate. I don't do any of that stuff.
But do you feel good? Do you feel like
I
at
feel like
peace?
Twisted Steel and Panther Piss. I mean,
Twisted Steel and Panther Piss is an odd combination to feel like.
well, that's a Texas oil field. Yeah. And I just visited one of my buddies from the war, who's unfortunately got Agent Orange.
Yeah, you were telling me that. Like, so what are the effects of Agent? How
Well,
old is
as
this
you get
gentleman?
older, your immune system breaks down, and the Agent Orange that you had latent in your system now starts to come out.
Like, what is it? How's it
Well, I
manifest
mean, he's
itself?
lost 40 pounds. This guy, I saw him pick up a Corvette when we were kids. And now he has trouble getting up steps.
Wow.
So,
Agent Orange is some scary shit, wasn't it?
yeah.
It was an exfoliant, right? Or defoliant that they sprayed on the jungle in Vietnam where all these soldiers were down there in it. Crazy shit that they just experimented on those kids.
Yeah.
And that's just, again, folks, don't forget, that was 50 years ago.
Yeah,
Wasn't that long ago at all.
Yeah, everything, it's like I sat next to McNamara, who was president of the World Bank, who was one of the fathers of the Vietnam War, and he was a weird dude. I mean, he said that the world is going to end in the apocalypse, and it's going to be the haves against the have-nots someday. He says, hopefully, you won't be around when that happens.
Really looking like.
He says there's certain problems on the planet that are never going to get solved. And he talked about the Israeli Palestinian. He says, we have had at that time 2 holy wars, and you could argue this is just an extension of the holy war. What's happening? And he says we didn't work it out in 700 AD, and we didn't work it out in 1100 AD, and we're not going to work it out this time. And so he was kind of a negative guy. The glass was half empty instead of half full.
What do you think?
I don't think we're going to work it out there either.
No?
I've been in partnership with the Israeli government. I've been in partnership with the Kuwaiti government, the Yemen government, and a couple others there. And it's a bridge too far. I just don't see it happening. I just don't.
And why is that?
Well, I mean, from the Muslim point of view, and they have the right to practice whatever religion they want, but it's an 8th, 9th century religion in the 21st century. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that's not socially acceptable. You talk about politically correct, a lot of the stuff they do transcends being politically correct. I mean, I don't think that's going to change. I just don't. I hope I'm wrong.
So you think that the way they, like for instance, the way they treat women, the way they won't let women drive, the way they make them wear their religious, how do you say it? Hijab, yeah.
The burqas.
Yeah, well, so you think that that's just going to stay the way it is forever?
In my lifetime, in your lifetime, maybe.
Maybe 100 years from now.
Maybe.
Sort of like comparing Christianity from the Inquisition to today.
Yeah.
Like, so it needs to somehow or another catch up.
Yeah, and maybe 500 years it will. For the planet's sake, I think we haven't been, aliens haven't come to this planet because they look at us, we're all fucked up.
Is that what you think?
Yeah.
Do you contemplate this?
Yeah,
really?
This
you ever sit around smoking a cigar with a glass of scotch going, where the fucking aliens?
Yeah.
Come over here, I want to shoot you.
Yeah. I don't think they're interested. What are we going to get? What are they going to learn from us?
Well, I would be absolutely fascinated if I found a group of chimpanzees that had figured out how to make fire with sticks and were building structures and were starting some sort of an organized war against other chimpanzees. I would be absolutely fascinated. If they had weapons and they were sneaking up on these other chimps and using spears, I'd be like, holy shit, look at this. This is us a long time ago.
Well,
and I would imagine that aliens would feel the same way about us.
Well, I mean, except that they're probably 1 million years advanced.
Maybe 100 years advanced.
Well, if they're 100 years advanced, I think they would have come down and seen us.
Maybe they're not ready yet.
Yeah, well...
Maybe 100 years from now, we won't be ready to go to other planets, but maybe someone out there is just a little bit more advanced than us and they're watching.
Well, Elon Musk wants to die on Mars.
That motherfucker's ridiculous.
Okay, he wants to die on Mars.
In an electric car.
Yeah, and do you know when the first electric car was, Joe?
Yeah, a long time ago. It was in the early 1900s.
Right?
1860s.
Okay. If we really wanted electric cars, it was the first car for 20, 30 years. Nobody had if we really wanted electric cars, don't you think we could have developed them by now?
Well, we definitely should have, but the influence of the fossil fuel companies.
Correct.
Yeah.
And do you know why Aramco is going public, the national oil company of Saudi Arabia?
No.
Okay. You're going to hear it first here.
Jesus, I can't believe this.
Okay. They're selling 2% of the company, not because they need money, because they've got all the money in the world. They want, because when you go public, you have to have a reserve report. The reserve report is going to show how many barrels they have. Proved producing, proved, unproved. And we've been guesstimating for years and years and years that Aramco's got a couple 100 million barrels, maybe 300, 400, 500 million barrels. Million barrels, excuse me. That report's going to show they have trillions of barrels. And there's no fucking way they're ever going to let fracking, electric cars, or anything else. When they're out of their trillions of barrels, then they're going to let electric cars come to pass.
So you think like all these oil crisis warnings and all the talk about them running out of oil in places is all bullshit?
Yep.
100%.
100.
What do you think oil is?
Okay, let me back up a second. In August 2014, I was on not a show as prestigious as yours, but some other guy's show, and I said when oil was $120 a barrel, we will see $40 oil before we see $200 oil. I'll bet both of my testicles.
Oh, strong bet.
Okay, in February last year, oil hit $26 a barrel. Today it's 48.
Wow.
Now, there's a whole bunch of reasons why I know that. Having done business in the Middle East, knowing Aramco's got hundreds of trillions of barrels, knowing that when the king of Saudi Arabia passed away about a year and a half ago, and his brother, who's considered not as bright as his brother, half-brother, died, and who hates Americans, allegedly, and who is sick and tired of hearing about fracking, that we're going to end the frackers forever. And so there's no way, see, OPEC is great except there's no accountability. There's only 2 countries in the world that actually adhere to OPEC. Canada, 3 countries, Canada, the U.S., and the U.K. Everybody else cheats.
How so?
They produce as much oil as they want.
So what is, OPEC has regulations on how much oil you can produce?
Correct.
And why do they have those regulations?
Because
to cap the market?
Correct. So they don't drive down the price of the market.
So now what they're doing with fracking is they're making oil in America so readily available that what they're doing in the Middle East is dropping the price down low so that the fracking's not worth doing.
Correct. And a barrel of oil at the wellhead from a fracked well, the cost is about $80 a barrel. To just get it there, not to get it in the pipeline, not to get it to the refineries, not to do that, right. $80 a barrel. So if they keep oil between 40 and 60 for the next 100 years, wow. All the frackers are fucked.
Yeah, and how do you feel about fracking? Because I've heard mixed stories about fracking, or mixed reports and mixed opinions. Some people believe that it's a good way for us to be independent with our oil and to break off from this whole weird sort of crisis and this situation that we have in the Middle East. And other people feel like it's super dangerous, and what we're doing is we're potentially poisoning water supplies, we're creating earthquakes in some place that's as stable as Oklahoma, which was like seismically was a non-entity, like never had any issues with earthquakes. Now they have tons of earthquakes, and they're just constantly drilling into the ground, and who knows what the consequences of that.
Both of those theories are correct. Both of the theories. But I'm not a save the world kind of guy.
What are you? You're a slash and burn type of guy?
No, not slash and burn, but I believe that if there is a higher power, he helps those who help themselves. So, I mean...
well, that's convenient to think like that, though.
Well, I think it is. That's why I think that way.
Okay. But if he helps those that help themselves, wouldn't he not help people who would poison the water supply?
Well, I mean, that's an exaggeration. It's not poisoning the water supply like the protesters are saying. But by the same token, why frack when, if my theory is correct about Saudi Arabia having hundreds of trillions, and they're never going to, they're never going to allow the fracked oil to come to market. Why do it?
Right. If they're never going to allow the fracked oil to come to market. Okay. So the fracked oil, what are they doing with it right now?
Well, right now, fracking is down like 70 or 80%.
It is?
Yes, it is.
And why is it down? Because of the price of oil?
Yeah, exactly.
So it has nothing to do with environmental concerns?
No, I mean, it's just like Obama didn't want the pipeline because of environmental concerns.
Dakota Access Pipeline?
Right.
But it all started during his watch.
Yeah, I understand it, but now Trump says that you can have the pipeline because he's looked at the same studies that I've looked at, and it's all online on Google, is that there is this much United States, and the environmental things that may be hurting is this much in the United States.
So you're talking, you spread your arms up very wide for people listening.
Okay.
And then when you said about environmental concerns, you put it very small.
Correct.
But isn't it something that if we could avoid those very small environmental disasters, they're going to impact that area for thousands of years?
Correct.
I mean, it's a significant issue.
Yeah, I'm sure it is. But I mean, there's more than there's the one side of an argument, the other side of the argument, and then somewhere in between is the truth. I mean, where the truth lies.
But do you think that's the only way for us to prosper is to put those areas in danger. I mean, if you say that there is a potentially there's a potential for an environmental disaster that could affect that area for thousands of years, take that risk for financial gain.
No, not the present. No, I'm not saying for fine. Now, fracking
Regulations
because
to cap the market.
Correct. So they don't drive down the price of the market.
So now what they're doing with fracking is they're making oil in America so readily available that what they're doing in the Middle East is dropping the price down low so that the fracking's not worth doing.
Correct. And a barrel of oil at the wellhead from a frack well, the cost is about $80 a barrel. To just get it there, not to get it in the pipeline, not to get it to the refineries, not to do any of that.
Right.
$80 a barrel. So if they keep oil between 40 and 60 for the next 100 years,
wow,
all the frackers are fucked.
Yeah, and how do you feel about fracking? Because I've heard mixed stories about fracking, or mixed reports, mixed opinions. Some people believe that it's a good way for us to be independent with our oil and to break off from this whole weird sort of crisis and this situation that we have with the Middle East. And other people feel like it's super dangerous, and what we're doing is we're potentially poisoning water supplies, we're creating earthquakes in some place that's as stable as Oklahoma, which was like seismically, it was a non-entity, like never had any issues with earthquakes. Now they have tons of earthquakes, and they're just constantly drilling into the ground, and who knows what the consequences of that.
Both of those theories are correct. Both of the theories. But I'm not a save the world kind of guy.
What are you? You're a slash and burn type of guy?
No, not slash and burn, but I believe that if there is a higher power, he helps those who help themselves. So, I mean...
well, that's convenient to think like
What?
that, though,
well,
isn't it?
I think it is. That's why I think that way.
Bottom of the trunk.
But if he helps those that help themselves, wouldn't he not help people who would poison the water supply?
Well, I mean, that's an exaggeration. It's not poisoning the...
down low so that the fracking's not worth doing.
Correct. And a barrel of oil at the wellhead from...
Hey, when was the last time you went to the zoo? I think I told us. goal today is to fine-tune our transition. Gotta limit easy scores. Let's get to work on stopping the ball in transition.
Hello? I forgot about you. In an hour, huh? You just texted me an hour ago. You crazy. I ain't forget about you. What you doing? You at work? I'm chilling. I'm just getting up. I think that sleep just start catching up to me. I know. Yeah, I be good for like a couple days. Like I would get like a couple 3 hours sleep, 3 hours sleep, a few hours sleep. But, I think today I was up to like before. I'm trying to think. I don't know. I was up for a minute, a lot of hours. I ain't really get like a good sleep since we practiced together. Yeah, I don't be sleeping. I don't be sleeping. Period. Some days it be catching up to me. I was dipping at work. I'm like, oh, I was like, alright, this don't usually happen. Yeah. Oh, I don't. I'm ready to talk about your body still ain't catch up. You probably be up and down. You ain't catch up on sleep yet. Mm, mm, yeah. I feel that. I definitely don't have as much problem sleeping, but nah, I was not taking it down early. Mm, mm, yeah. Huh? Mm, right. Mm, yeah, recovery. I thought you went to sleep though. You was good. Go to work, right? So you didn't get the full night. Definitely gotta get that well rested. And then what you work in the morning tomorrow, don't you? Uh, dang. Oh yeah, cause you said you know all right. She gonna say you was there, whatever. That's the hook. Oh, true. All right. Hush money. You giving her hush money? Yeah, that's funny. Nobody. I guess if you're a certain age, nobody wants to say second job. Whatever they, whatever hustle they doing, they always call it a side hustle. I'm like, I'm like, why it gotta be a side hustle? It can't be a second job. Uh, Mm-hmm. Tradition. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right.